I wanted to talk a little bit about arena vehicles and how you can use them outside the arena, and are they really worth using outside the arena. So I've got the Arena War website up here. You can buy vehicles that are ready for the arena, supposedly, without owning the Arena Workshop. The Arena Workshop is about $1 million. And the arena ready vehicles, as you see here, run in the usually $2 to $3 million range. So you're spending $4 to $5 million once you've done some upgrades as well to have a fully functioning, as it were, arena ready vehicle. Also, all these arena ready vehicles, there are 5 different types here, come in 3 different flavors. You've got Apocalypse, which I thought was the Mad Max kind of version. I think maybe it's more, not quite the Mad Max, it's more kind of, after the, well, it's not quite the Mad Max, because the Mad Max one is actually this Nightmare one. When you get one of these and put all the stuff on it, it looks more Mad Maxy than the Apocalypse ones. And then there's also Future Shock, which gives you a cleaner kind of look, and these are painted in white, but you can change the colors. But just bear in mind, you're paying $1 million for your arena workshop so that you can buy these cars and upgrade them. And these cars, or the big truck there, the Cerberus, are pretty expensive. You can also buy stock vehicles and upgrade those. This rat truck turns into a big monster truck, which is kind of fun, but you can't store it in a regular. I think it's the stock rat truck. It might be the slam van actually, but you can't store it in a regular garage. Once it's a monster truck, it's too big; it won't fit. Okay. If you buy an arena ready vehicle, it looks as it looks now. So here's the Imperator, which is kind of the Mad Max car. You can add a whole bunch of stuff to it. It's got spikes, and this is the Apocalypse version. So this is what I thought was the Mad Max version. It's got spikes, it's got skulls, it's got sticky out bits. It's got a big ram on the front, which is actually quite effective. You've got to be careful with the spikes, they can kill you when you're trying to get into and out of the car. The same one in the Nightmare version, fully upgraded. I think that's possibly even more Mad Maxy. Now you can change the color schemes, you can change lots of things on these cars. I think they're supposed to be thunder sticks in Mad Max. The warriors pull them out and then throw them and they explode. So this is, I think, the more Mad Max version, but they're kind of similar, except this one doesn't have the big kinetic ram, it just has a solid ram on the front. And by the way, all this stuff really throws off your handling. So be aware, you're spending, you want to have at least $5 million in hand to play with these things. Now, I'm in my regular garage here. This is the garage that I call my working garage. These are the cars I'm most likely to want to use at any particular time, because I can most easily get back here immediately and use these cars. The far end, of course, the Kuruma, because it is the most useful car in most missions, if you're going to drive a car at all. Next to it is a Deluxo, and I'll go over that one another time. There's a weaponized Tampa. I'll do a video on that one. A couple of gauntlets here. This is a fairly recent one that's all painted up and looking wonderful. This is the classic. And this other car here is also the gauntlet. You can't put a big engine in this one that sticks out the front, but it's just a standard street car, not terribly expensive. And next to it is actually an arena vehicle. I've taken everything off this and made it look like a standard street vehicle. You'll see it's got exactly the same wheels as the gauntlet. It's got the engine sticking out the front, but that doesn't actually do anything different. It just looks nice, but it doesn't change how fast the car can go. But I've upgraded this with as much stuff as I can without making it look anything other than a street vehicle. So people, if you were driving this around in free mode and people saw you, they might recognize it as an arena vehicle. They might not. And the question is it useful to have something looking like this? Behind it is the same car again, but with all the upgrades on it and weapons. So on this one, the only 2 things I could put in without making it look unusual by having guns sticking out the front or blades sticking out the side, is the jump. Which is that. And proximity mines, which drop out the back. And I'll drop one out here. You can see there's a mine there now. The problem is, the mines are not the same as proximity mines on other non-arena vehicles. They can come in a variety of flavours. You've got kinetic, which will bounce an enemy car in the air if it runs over the mine. Sticky, which basically puts down a sticky patch on the ground. Slick, which puts down a patch of oil on the ground. When someone runs over it, the oil patch will eventually vanish. EMP, which stops the other guy's engine for a short period of time, only about 5 seconds, maybe not even that long. And I forget, there may be one other type. But what I've tried with these is, if someone's chasing you, do they get rid of them? They're not as effective as proximity mines, which just blow up the enemy vehicle. I'm going to drop a mine in front of this guy, so when... Oh, someone else drove over. And you see somebody drove over that mine, but do you see anybody exploded? No. It did an explosion, but then no real effect afterwards. Let's chuck a bunch of them down there. Right, so this is the EMP mine. It stopped his engine, and then off he goes again. So if you were dropping those, if you were in a situation where somebody was chasing you and you were trying to get away from them, would it be effective? I'm not convinced. I think there are better ways of stopping people from chasing you than using these mines. They may be very effective in the arena. They don't seem to me terribly effective outside of the arena. So I was disappointed that these weren't just the regular proximity mines you can put on other vehicles. Many other vehicles in the game that you can use in free mode have much more effective mines. The jump, well, I could see how this could potentially be useful in some situations. Jump is a more rare event. There are very few vehicles that can do jumps, but you can put a jump like this on a bunch of things. However, you can see, the clearing obstacles, well, I did clear that car that was in front of me, but then I ran straight into the building because I had no control over the car once I'd jumped. Let's see if I can jump over this guy. Yeah. So, you could become proficient with using the jump, but I'm not sure it's all that useful. I could have just driven around that guy, maybe for jumping over fences, jumping over walls. If you get stuck, jumping out of trouble, maybe. It might be useful in limited situations. So, the proximity mines I was disappointed with. They're not as good as regular proximity mines on other vehicles. And the jump, possibly useful. I kind of like the fact that this is an arena car in a non-arena setting, and I've made it look just like a regular street car. It also has no armor on it. Okay, so here's my own EMP, and you see it's... Well, I didn't affect my own vehicle, apparently. I could hear it beeping. It didn't really do anything. So there's no armor on this car, because if I put armor on it, it ends up looking spiky and metal plates and stuff, and I just wanted a street-looking car. The same car over here, but with all the upgrades. It's actually, this is the Apocalypse version. The other one was actually the Nightmare version, but I think if you stripped everything off, they would end up looking the same. On this car, I have all the weapons you can put on. So I have machine guns, but like all machine guns, just fixed machine guns on cars, you've got to be pretty lucky to be able to actually hit what you're aiming at, and as soon as you do, they're going to try and get away from you. It has spinning blades. Those can be very effective against pedestrians, but they don't exactly stick out far from the car, so you would have to run into people to make them do anything. It has a ram on the front, and you can see those blades spinning around quite fast on this version. That is actually quite effective. Let's just give this little guy a nudge. And you see how the ram, I think that's the most effective thing on here. Kind of frightened him away. Hasn't destroyed his car, it has made him run away. And it takes quite a lot to destroy a car by ramming it. But it would certainly get them out of your way if you were trying to get somewhere. The blades go away when you or at least stop spinning when you stop. And then you've got spikes on the car. And the problem I found with spikes is... well, maybe not on this one. I've actually killed myself on the spikes before now, but maybe it's not going to happen on this version. Apparently these spikes don't kill you. Maybe it was a different car I was doing it on. It's also got armor, as you can see. I tried this in a mission and it didn't really give me very good bullet protection, because as you see from the front, those vents don't really do anything. They're not going to stop a bullet coming in through the front. It also means that I don't have the ability to use my own weapons as a drive-by. I've got the machine guns, or I've got the kinetic mortar at the back, and that's the final weapon I have. And I think I've already shown this, but here's the kinetic mortar. You hold down the left shoulder button on a controller, and the longer you hold it, the further it goes. So I've held it down a good long time now. Let's fire the mortar. And that went... ...25 paces. I can't say I'm overly impressed with 25 paces. Now, if I could throw that further, it might be potentially useful. It also doesn't actually do a huge amount of damage when you get there. So, although I did do 25, I did manage to fire the grenade. Now I'm going to get shot by the police. I wasn't overly impressed with the result of that, and I believe also you're limited to about 20 shots. There could be situations, again, where you want to throw something over a wall, that kinetic grenade might actually turn out to be useful. And kinetic means it bounces people. It doesn't actually blow up. It's not explosive. It's just a bouncy one. I didn't think there were any cops here. I'm not sure why they're still looking at me. Okay. But I've played around with these a little bit, and I have to say I didn't find them as as useful as one might hope they could be. Ooh. So, you can spend 4 or 5 million getting a car and using it on the streets, getting an arena car. The weapons that are useful in the arena don't seem to be quite as useful on the streets. And I think the most effective one is that ram. And that's the kinetic ram that's spinning around. It's not just a fixed ram. But the problem with that one is it really throws off the balance of the car. It's a big heavy chunk of metal you've tied on the front of your car. That's obviously going to affect the handling, and it does, and it makes the car very front heavy, and it makes it behave very oddly when you're trying to drive. You can, get around it, but it's a lot easier not to have the big spinning chunk of metal on the front. If you want to get somebody out of your way when you're driving, then a missile is a lot more effective, and there are plenty of vehicles that have missiles on the front. So I wouldn't choose an Apocalypse or a Nightmare arena car with a ram thinking that's somehow going to be my salvation and get me out of trouble. Doesn't mean they couldn't be fun. Might be fun driving these cars, but bear in mind you're going to be spending about 5 million to get to your first 4 to 5 million to get to your first street-ready arena car. I'm not sure if it's worth it unless you've got 4 to 5 million to just burn, which I have, which you can do it. Okay, and that's the end of my review on those arena cars.